Here is a question I want you to sit with for just a moment. If you lost everything you own tomorrow, every gadget, every piece of furniture, every item in your garage, how much of it would you actually go out and replace? Not all of it. Probably not even most of it. And that quiet realization, that honest moment of I wouldn't even bother, is the entire foundation of what we are going to talk about today. Welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, this is a space built for people who are serious about their financial future, people who are thinking about retirement, thinking about freedom, thinking about what it actually means to live well rather than just spend well. And today, we are diving into something that I believe is one of the most powerful, most underrated financial strategies available to every single one of us, regardless of income level. We are talking about minimalist money rules. 10 of them. And by the time we are done, I think you are going to look at your wallet, your home, and your habits in a completely different way. Now, before we get into the rules themselves, we need to talk about a concept that most financial advice completely ignores. And that is what I call the true cost of ownership. We are taught from a very young age to think about the price tag. Something costs $100, or $1,000, or $10,000, and that number feels like the whole story. But it is not even close to the whole story. Because everything you own costs you money twice. The first time is obvious, it is the purchase price, the moment you hand over your card or click buy now. But the second cost? That one is sneaky. That one hides in your monthly bills, in your weekends, in your mental energy, and in the opportunities you never even realized you were giving up. Let me give you a concrete example that I think will stick with you. Imagine someone buys a boat. Nice boat, $30,000. They love the idea of weekend trips on the water, summer memories, the whole vision. But once that boat is in their driveway, the second cost begins. Storage fees, insurance, engine maintenance, winterizing, fuel, dock fees. Even if that boat never leaves the driveway for a full year, the owner is spending somewhere in the neighborhood of $3,000 just to keep it sitting there. That is $3,000 a year for something they are not even using. Over a decade, that is $30,000 on top of the original purchase. They essentially bought the boat twice, and they barely got on the water. This is not a story about boats. This is a story about everything. Your extra car. Your vacation home. Your storage unit full of things you boxed up 4 years ago and never open again. Every single one of those things is quietly, patiently billing you, in money, in maintenance, and in the mental weight of knowing it is there and needs to be dealt with someday. The goal of minimalist money thinking is to make the invisible costs visible, so you can make real decisions rather than emotional ones. With that foundation in place, let us walk through the 10 rules. The first rule is something I call calculate cost per use, and once you start doing this, you will never be able to stop. The math is simple. Take the total cost of something and divide it by the number of times you will realistically use it. And I want to emphasize that word, realistically. Not optimistically. Not the best case scenario version of yourself who goes to the gym every single morning and reads every book you buy. The real you, living your actual life. Here is why this matters so much. Say you are looking at 2 jackets. One costs $400 and the other costs $200. Most of us instinctively reach for the cheaper option. But if that $400 jacket is genuinely high quality, well made, and you will wear it 200 times over the next several years, your cost per wear is $2. Meanwhile, if that $200 jacket is a trendy piece you will wear twice before it falls apart or goes out of style, your cost per wear is $100. You did not save money. You spent 50 times more per use. This rule is not about justifying expensive purchases. It is about making honest decisions. And when you start applying it to everything, your gym membership, your streaming subscriptions, your kitchen gadgets, you will quickly discover which purchases are genuinely serving you and which ones are just costing you. The second rule follows naturally from the first, and it is perhaps the most clarifying question you can ask about anything you currently own. I call it the replacement test. It goes like this: look at something in your home, something you have had for a while, and ask yourself one honest question. If this disappeared today, not broke, not wore out, just vanished, would I spend money to replace it? If the answer is yes, that item is genuinely adding value to your life. It is earning its place. But if you hesitate, if you think, well, probably not, or I would get around to it eventually, that is your answer. That item is not serving you. It is taking up space in your home and, more importantly, it is taking up space in your mind. Because we carry the psychological weight of everything we own, whether we realize it or not. The beautiful thing about this test is that it cuts through the sunk cost fallacy. We often keep things just because we spent money on them, not because they are actually useful to us. But that money is already gone. The only question that matters now is, does this belong in my future? Moving to the third rule, and this one is going to sting a little for some of us, myself included at various points in life. Rule 3 is, never upgrade out of boredom. We live in a culture that is absolutely relentless about convincing you that what you have is not enough. Every year, there is a new phone with a slightly better camera. Every few years, there is a new car with features your current car does not have. Every season, there is new furniture, new fashion, new everything. And the message is always the same: the newer version will make you happier, more productive, more successful, more something. But here is the financial reality. If you upgrade your phone every 2 years, trade in your car every 3 or 4 years, and redecorate your home every few years purely out of boredom or social pressure, not because anything has broken, not because your needs have genuinely changed, but just because a newer version exists, the lifetime cost is staggering. We are talking about well over $200,000 across a lifetime when you add it all up. That is retirement money. That is the difference between being comfortable at 65 and being genuinely free at 65. The rule is not that you can never upgrade anything ever. The rule is that functionality should drive the decision, not novelty. When something no longer does the job, replace it. Until then, protect yourself from the upgrade culture that wants your money far more than it wants your happiness. Rule 4 is one of my personal favorites because it works with human psychology rather than against it. It is called create friction for spending. The idea is beautifully simple. If you want to spend less, make spending harder. If you want to save more, make saving automatic and effortless. Think about how easy it is to spend money right now. Your credit card is saved on every website. Shopping apps are one tap away on your phone. You can buy something while lying in bed at midnight without even sitting up. This frictionless spending environment is not an accident. It was designed this way because convenience drives impulse purchases and impulse purchases drive profit. So you flip the script. You remove your saved credit cards from online retailers. You delete the shopping apps from your phone. You require yourself to actually get up, find your wallet, and type in your card number before completing a purchase. That tiny inconvenience is often enough to break the impulse cycle. By the time you have done all that, the craving has usually passed or you have talked yourself into waiting a day. On the saving side, you do the exact opposite. You set up automatic transfers to your savings or investment accounts the day your paycheck arrives. You do not see the money, you do not touch the money, and after a few months, you genuinely stop missing it. You are not relying on willpower or discipline, you are using the system to do the work for you. And for long-term retirement planning, this one shift can be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars over time. Rule 5 sounds almost too simple to be meaningful, but I promise you it is one of the most eye-opening exercises you can do. The rule is count your possessions. Pick a category, let us say clothing. Go to your closet and count every item you own. Shirts, pants, shoes, jackets, accessories, all of it. Then ask yourself, when did I last wear each of these? How many of these do I actually reach for regularly? For most people, they discover they have far more than they realized, and they actively use a surprisingly small fraction of it. The act of counting creates awareness. And awareness breaks the spell. Because lifestyle creep, that gradual, almost invisible process by which your spending rises every time your income rises, operates best when you are not paying attention. The closet fills up slowly. The kitchen drawer gets a little more crowded each year. The garage accumulates. And because it happens one item at a time, you never notice the total until you actually count. You do not have to count everything in a single weekend. In fact, I would recommend against it. Just pick one drawer, one closet, one shelf at a time. Make it a regular, gentle habit rather than a stressful event. The goal is sustained awareness, not a one-time purge. Rule 6 is especially valuable for the kind of person who loves trying new things, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that, by the way. Rule 6 says, rent or borrow before you buy. Here is the pattern. Someone gets excited about a new hobby. Maybe it is camping, maybe it is kayaking, maybe it is woodworking or photography or pickleball. The excitement is real, and it feels permanent. So they buy all the gear at once. They spend $500, $1,000, maybe $2,000 fully kitting themselves out before they have spent more than a few hours doing the thing. And then 6 months later, all of that equipment is sitting in the garage collecting dust because it turns out the hobby was more appealing in theory than in practice. We have all been there. The minimalist rule is to rent or borrow the gear for the first several outings. Take a rented kayak out 3 or 4 times before you spend money on your own. Borrow someone's camping equipment before you invest in a full setup. This does 2 things. It confirms whether the interest is genuine and lasting, and it teaches you exactly what equipment you actually need before you spend a dollar on it. If after 5 rental trips you are still excited and you know which gear matters, then you buy. And you buy right, the first time, instead of buying cheap gear you will replace anyway. Rule 7 is something I call the lifestyle multiplier, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. The rule is this: major purchases almost never arrive alone. They bring friends. Think about a swimming pool. A pool is a wonderful thing, genuinely. But a pool does not just cost what you paid to have it installed. A pool needs chemicals. It needs a vacuum. It needs furniture so you can actually sit by it. It needs a fence for safety and insurance purposes. If you heat it, it needs energy. If you want to entertain, it needs lighting, speakers, maybe a grill nearby. The pool multiplies. The original purchase is just the beginning of the spending cascade. This plays out everywhere. A bigger house needs more furniture, more cleaning, more heating and cooling. A boat needs dock fees, fuel, and gear. A vacation property needs maintenance, taxes, and possibly management fees when you are not there. Before any major purchase, the minimalist practice is to map out the full lifestyle it creates, not just the sticker price. Sometimes the math still makes sense. But often, you realize that what you are actually buying is a whole new layer of obligation. Rule 8 might be the most important one for anyone thinking about their financial future in the long run. The rule is define enough early. Before your income grows, and for many of us watching this channel, it already has grown significantly over a career, you need to draw a line in the sand and say, this is enough. A home of this size. A car of this type. A vacation of this frequency. Because without that finish line, every raise, every bonus, every step up in income will automatically transform into a step up in lifestyle. The spending will rise to meet the income, and you will reach retirement having earned a tremendous amount of money and having saved a fraction of what you could have. But when you define enough early, something extraordinary happens. Every dollar above that line is automatically free. You do not need to discipline yourself not to spend it, because you have already decided that your life is complete at that level. That money flows directly into investments, into savings, into the freedom fund that will one day allow you to truly choose how you spend your days. For those in or approaching retirement, this rule applies just as powerfully. Defining enough means you can stop the anxious, frantic accumulation and start actually living on what you have built. It is a deeply liberating exercise. Rule 9 reframes what wealth actually means, and I think this reframe is one of the most valuable things minimalist thinking offers. The rule is measure wealth by optionality, not by accumulation. Most people measure wealth by what they own. The house, the car, the investment portfolio balance, the stuff. And those things matter. I am not going to pretend they do not. But the truest measure of financial security is the number of meaningful choices you have. Can you say no to a job that is slowly destroying your health without your whole life falling apart? Can you take 6 months off to care for a sick parent without it being a financial catastrophe? Can you tell an unreasonable client or employer exactly what you think because you do not desperately need the money? That ability to say no, to bad situations, to toxic dynamics, to anything that compromises your integrity or your well-being, is the real dividend of financial discipline. And it is built not by buying more, but by spending less and saving the difference over time. The freedom to choose is worth more than almost anything money can buy. And the 10th rule, the one that ties everything together, is practice cyclical decluttering. Not once a year. Not in a big dramatic overhaul. But continuously, in small cycles, as a natural rhythm of your life. The reason annual purges tend to fail over the long run is that they treat clutter as a problem to be solved rather than a tendency to be managed. The tendency is always there. Consumer culture is always pushing new things toward us. Our interests shift. Things accumulate. And when you wait for a massive purge, the mess just rebuilds itself quietly in the background until it becomes overwhelming again. The alternative is small, regular reviews. Once a month, go through one drawer, one shelf, one corner of the garage. Ask the replacement test question. Count what is there. Donate or discard what does not belong. This rhythm keeps you constantly connected to what you own and what you value, and it prevents the slow creep of reaccumulation from undoing all your good work. Now let me bring all of this together, because I want you to see the full picture of what these 10 rules create when they work together. When you calculate cost per use, you buy less but buy better. When you practice the replacement test, you stop holding on to things that are just costing you mental energy. When you refuse to upgrade out of boredom, you save tens of thousands of dollars over a lifetime. When you create friction for spending and make saving automatic, the math starts working powerfully in your favor without requiring constant willpower. When you count your possessions and pay attention to lifestyle multipliers, you stop the slow bleed of unconscious overspending. When you rent before you buy and define enough early, you protect your future from your present impulses. And when you measure your wealth by optionality and declutter continuously, you build and maintain the kind of financial clarity that most people never find. The result is what I call the minimalist virtuous cycle. Spending less leads to more savings. More savings lead to more security. More security reduces the emotional urge to spend as a way of feeling successful or in control. And that reduced urge leads to spending even less. The cycle feeds itself, and over time, it compounds in exactly the same way that investment returns compound, quietly, steadily, and with extraordinary results if you give it enough time. The deepest insight here is not really about money at all. It is about ownership. Every one of these rules is designed to help you own your possessions rather than letting your possessions own you. Because when your financial life is cluttered, when you are carrying the weight of things you do not use, commitments you did not fully consider, and lifestyle obligations that require an ever-growing income to maintain, you are not free. You are managed by your own stuff. But when you clear that out, when you get honest about what you actually need and value, when you protect your savings with the same energy you protect your health, something changes. The anxiety quiets. The choices multiply. And the future that you have been working toward for years starts to feel less like a distant destination and more like something you are already living. That is what minimalist money is really about. Not deprivation. Not living on nothing and enjoying nothing. It is about radical clarity, knowing exactly what your life needs, protecting your resources accordingly, and having enough left over to do the things that genuinely matter to you. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. If this resonated with you, please share it with someone you know who is on their own financial journey, because these ideas deserve a wider audience. Leave me a comment below. I want to know which of these 10 rules hits closest to home for you, and which one you plan to put into practice first. And if you have not already subscribed to the channel, now is a great time to do that, because there is a lot more where this came from. Until next time, spend less, save more, and own your future.